Gaeilge Weekly is brought to you by Learn Irish Online. For way more shows, videos, podcasts, and courses for learning the language, head to learnirishonline.com or patreon.com/learnirishonline.
You've been the best at times, you walk me through my darkest days. Why must I turn around? I ask myself. This just ain't fair, so hard to bear. I'm not really sure these days. You walk me, you don't
Hello, Conas atá sibh fáilte arás chuig an show fáilte arás chuig Gaeilge Weekly agus tá mé lán sásta chun rá. I'm really happy to say fáilte chuig Againn iver ein chéad de Gaeilge Weekly. Well, hey, fantastic. Tá man san is an seo tá sé Déanta Againn, we've done it. Agus dern mé Againn, I say we have done it. Mar tá níos mó ibre Déanta agamsa ná mar tá Déanta agamsa, so more work done by you guys than I've done. We're here and I've continued on this podcast tá mé taréis leanúint leis an bud craile seo agus le Gaeilge Weekly agus le Learn Irish Online margheall we're guid takeíocht because of your guys' support. But going to speak more about that at the end of the podcast. Tá mé an labhairt níos mó faoi sin ag deireadh an fud craile. Thank you so much, Gurmina Maggie, asked you and I was shocked. And Sachtán seo agus mas rud é gohfuil tú ag éisteacht an chéadúir nó mas rud é gohfuil gach agran de Gaeilge Weekly cluist agat rire seo fós míle buchas. As carúlum, as carúlar Gaeilge Weekly agus tá súlang gohfuil se fós ag buint taitnamh as an show taréis céad agran. Hui mé ras, I went back on éisteacht leis. Well, on éisteacht le nóméid amháin a ceapam nó fiú truck a second tin chéad episode cúpla seachtain and went back to listen to a minute or maybe just even half an hour of the first episode a couple of weeks ago. Agus wow, ní rá sé roá. Ní rá aon muín agam beid no confidence at all. Ní rá an audio goma churbe mar ní rá clú agam faoi nagur thóracht about editing agus just gach bhí sé agsúla seo bhí mé just ag labhairt agus I guess bhí sé ar an deir seachtainna bhí mé ag déanamh bhí seo agus inis éistem féin agus tá a bhhaid níos mó muín agam. Now I listen to myself and a lot more confidence, a lot more flow, presence, whatever you want to call it. Agus gan tá an audio níos fearr agus na téimi a bhín méid labhairt trí tá sin níos fearr ach fós tá lán spás chun éirí níos fearr agus chun fios a chur ar an show. There's still loads of room to get better and to improve the show without doubt. So, don chéadú agran, tá mé géirí labhairt beaganín faoin scéal of winning le Gaeilge Weekly. For the 100th episode, I want to speak a little bit about the story, I suppose, connected to Gaeilge Weekly. Chun sa hosí sé, I know I was speaking a bit about that. Tá sam go raibh mé ag labhairt beaganín faoi sin cúpla seachtain ó hin, well, beidir mí nó níos mó ó hin anis. Hard to keep track when you've done 100 episodes of podcast. Decker on the cuineal sús nar tá céad agran sa fud craile Déanta agat ach rinne mé agran chun sa hosí Learn Irish Online. Hartar mí ó hin ceapam around a month ago. So beidir go raibh mé ag labhairt beaganín sa fud craile sin faoi Gaeilge Weekly agus chun sa hosí Gaeilge Weekly. Ach is tócha chun scéal omláin a bheith to have kind of the full story, chun túsa chur leis an scéal mar sceart to start the story properly. Caithfidh méid dul arás go mí mórta nó mí aibreán 2023. Bhí me díreach tar éis bun chórsa Gaeilge, an Irish Beginners course a chruthú. So it's just after kind of making or creating an Irish Beginners course. Agus dúirt carlam, listen, caithfidh é seo a chur átaken. Okay, tá tú manán é a chur ar Udemy agus Síomhanna Defriúla, so different sites, Déanta le courses, different sites kind of made for courses and course hosting websites. Ach, níor hatan agus fós ní hatníon middlemen, lum is tócha. I don't really like middlemen and I like doing things direct with people. instead of, putting something up on a website that's taking a large chunk of it and can change it. Like chur rud éigean sús an sin siomh agus tá siomh on, cuid gen agad a hógáil, they can take some of the money agus tá siad an cuasa a athrú and tá guidelines different. I like, as people will know, mar sóiltíomh má tá tú ag éisteacht go minic le Gaeilge Weekly. Is maithlam mar rud hain a dhéanú. I like doing my own thing. Is maithlam a bheith ag geanasar rudí. I like to kind of be in control or have creative control on things. So dúirt me, yeah, i bhád níos chun an cuasa seo a chur siomh féin. Níl siomh agam ach tá mé chun ceann a chrothú. I'm going to create one. Agus an sin by me in an mar rud hain a dhéanú leis. Agus nuair bhí an siomh agus an logo agus an brand is tócha learnirishonline agam. Dúirt me, well, beidir gur féidirlumm cúpla rud eile a dhéanú le seo. Not just an cuasa a bheith agam an siomh. Instead of just having the course on the site, beidir gur féidirlumm actually buganí content a dhéanú. Cúpla físeán ar YouTube, beidir podcréile just chun is tócha an cuasa a chur chun cín. So just to promote the course, not actually to have people be mad into the content, but just something to get people hooked in. Agus an sin, má tá tú ag fólam na Gaeilge, tá course againn. I don't really know what the logic with that was, because it was a beginner's course. So how could you enjoy the content without some level of Irish? And if you had some level of Irish, they'll make level éigean in Gaeilge agat. Sure, ní cinnte nach rá an bun chóirsa ag tastal it, but you make these mistakes or you don't kind of think these things through. Déanann tú na botún seo, nó dí bhíonn tú ag smaoinú faoi na rudaí seo. Nuair a thosnaíonn tú go nó nuair thosnaíonn tú tionscadal, because it'll show when you start a business or a project like this. So dúirt me, okay, sure, listen, din mé físeán nó go ar YouTube fós tá tú an chéad físeán a rinne mé eáil ar YouTube, top 10 beginners mistakes, I think. Níl sé go má ar churbe, again, níor watlam dul agus eáil inis. I wouldn't like to go back and see it now, but it's still up there on YouTube. I should probably put it private at some point so people don't find that and think, this guy doesn't know what he's talking about. Honest, not my daoine ag teacht ar sin agus ag rá, níl clú ag an lad seo. Cad atá sé ag labhairt free. Who knows? Maybe it's not too bad. Beidir nach chóil sé ró chunne, but I certainly listened back to the first episodes of Gaeilge Weekly. They weren't very good. Ag éisteacht siar leis an géad cúpla agrán ag Gaeilge Weekly ní rá siad san róá. So I can't imagine the féidirlumm saoilú how bad the first video I did, which was even a month before Gaeilge Weekly, or 6 weeks before Gaeilge Weekly, me umlán no sé seacht an rih Gaeilge Weekly ní féidirlumm saoilú. I can't imagine how bad that would have been. But anyway, I'm not here to just criticize myself all day and give out about myself. Ní mé so hon just tuairt amach fuam féin an lá ar fad. I'll leave that for maybe episode 101. Tá mé hon é sin a ágáil le agrán iver chéad is a hain. But I thought to myself, I love podcasts, and I've been thinking about maybe doing my own podcast for a while. If it makes money, if we bed some fud creile hain a hosú le tamil in English, to do a podcast in English, just chat to people. I studied journalism in college, rinne mé stads here an éasca sa chláiste, no san old school. Agus cummála sin, bhí mé gafa agus tá mé fós gafa le podcréaltaí. I'm kind of really into obsessed with podcast. Thosaigh mé ag éisteacht le cúpla podcréile nuair bhí mé 40 nó 50 when I was 14 or 15. So after Gaeilge 40, Gaeilge 50, 2014, 2015. Agus just ba even lo míad ceann nó cúpla. So is toch a cúpla ceann in the chuimhní is fearr. Few of the best memories atá agam nuair bhí mé i mi dhéagóir agus nuair bhí mé fós i mo chónaí in éireann. Sin ag éisteacht le podcréaltaí agus ag immert an PlayStation ag an am céine, so listening to podcasts while playing the PlayStation at the same time, agus ag immert F1 2018 or whatever, agus FIFA 16 agus Call of Duty World War II 9 mar sin, agus ag immert na fís chluichí sin ar feadh or clé gá or ní me sean so duine sin a bhín gafa le fís cliffy. I'm not that type of person who's so obsessed with them I play all day, but for an hour or two in the evening. Agus ag éisteacht le podcréile faoi cheol, faoi Formula 1, faoi soccer, mar bhí níos mó sim agam sa soccer ag an am sin was more interested in football and soccer at that time. No payroad, even an audiobook or whatever, lower filma, no ein rud mar sin. Those are some of my best memories. And so I always kind of thought, not that I like speaking, because I'm a lot more confident now than I was a few years ago. And Gaeilge Weekly has massively helped me with that in my own life. Tá Gaeilge Weekly tar éis cabhrú gcomhpháirtíocht I my héal pársanta ceap agus I my héal hain chun a bheith níos muíní to be more confident and to be a better speaker and be able to chat to people agus a bheith an labhairt le daoine, something I probably wasn't as good at 2 or 3 years ago. Not that I ever had a huge issue with it, but definitely with new people I struggled. Ní rá fá bulmhar agam leis a géon pointach gan dabhas le daoine nua go háirithe. Bhí sé beagganín sacrdom agus only if you make strackles leis sin beagganín. I was always struggling with that. A bit, and those things are kind of gone now, really, and I think a large part of that is due to Gaeilge Weekly. Ceapam tá chuid mhórta sin margheall an méids cainsa tá Déanta agam Gaeilge Weekly. So anil some cévéid orintha, I don't know how many hours I've put in just chatting away. Most of us probably chatting about stuff that's not important. Chuid is móide ag labhairt faoi rudí nachhfuil rohábhaach ach sure feicis, tá man so anis agus tá daoine ag buint taithna bheas agus le cuine dé tá daoine in lán an Gaeilge a hiiscin beagganí níos fearr margheall Gaeilge Weekly agus margheall an episódaí na hagraní difriúla atá Déanta Againn. I mean, tá mé tar éis labhairt faoi sport, faoi peilghailach, soccer, Formula 1, ceol, oasis, ceol churmacha, my favourites, an scalan is fearlam, a chlór telefíse is fearlam. Tá tafadaí Déanta agam sa Spáin, in Éireann, sa Fortsingale, sa Nidal, freisin, éáile? Ceapam níl éáile sa ríoch Déanta? No, ní ceapam go ndearna mé aon tafadaí sa ríoch Déanta. Cinnte go ndearna mé beidir beagganín agurtháirt nó rud éigean. Definitely did a bit of editing in maybe different countries or a bit of social media work in relation to the podcast. Beagganín ibre na meán ho síalta maidir leis an budcréile. Ach, ní ceapan go léon áit san eile ina bhfuil agránaí tafada agam. I don't think there's any places where I've actually recorded episodes of the show. Ach, yeah, tá gáchéad sa seachtó nó gáchéad sa seasca leagan chur amach agam. I've put about 270 or 260 versions in between bonus episodes on Patreon, so agrán sa bhreis Patreon. Agus Céadaoin the ní simplí version, the Awad ní simplí version, so an leagan ní simplí, an leagan Awad ní simplí, hosí much an leagan Awad ní simplí episode over seasca 8. I think around 68 or 67 started doing the Awad ní simplí version for the first time. So a lot of different episodes and one-off specials and best ofs and all that. Ach, yeah, the dullarás is tócha ag fiú arás an scéal chuna sa hosí Gaeilge Weekly. Dúirt mé, déanú mé gálagan in aine seachtainna. Ceapam an plán a bhí agam ar dús, bhí sé chun an leagan umlan a churmach an mórch agus an leagan ní simplí a churmach an Gaeilge. So I think the original plan was to put the the full version out on the Tuesday and then the simpler version out on the Wednesday. And I can't remember, is it like, I must go back on Spotify and see, is it like that for the first few episodes? I can't remember, and we'll check still a show on chéad cúpla episode. Ní ceapan Gaeil, I think I've always had the same schedule of coming out on Wednesday on Spotify and then Tuesday on Patreon, say Céadaoin Spotify agus gach Apple Podcasts agus mar sinse Acast podcasts. This is part of the Acast Creators Network agus mar sin mar chluistear gomininic fud crailtí difriúla, as is often heard on different podcasts. And I have so many different stats here on the Spotify Creators page. Tá méid sin statisticí agam an seo an Latnach le haid Spotify Creators, and most of it is in Italian as well. Tá chuid móide san nadális. But yeah, sorry, the first week they came out 2 different days. On Cúgal Lá is fithe the VI Bron, Gábhils fé trí tháinig an chéad leagan amach agus an sin an lád ar gcionn, and then the day after the simpler version on the 26th on Céadaoin of April 2023. So I didn't stick with that because then the next week I went 3rd of May, 10th of May, 10th of May, and so on agus mar sinja. Ag obair mar bhúnseoir thar leir sin an chéad agrán. And as I said, I would not recommend ní bhfuilhin a churbe dit $100 agus éisteacht le sin agus bór an trú na daoine a hagan an budcréile don chéad like the people who kind of come across the podcast for the first time now, that's the most popular one that they go to. That's got by far and away the most listens gone out. Like a long éisteacht níl focail streams really as Gaeilge ach a long streams no one is more streams not in episode eile mar sin a chéad ceann a hagan an éasca. That's the first one that comes up when you look up Gaeilge Weekly on Spotify nor vín tú a chóirtú Gaeilge Weekly Spotify. But yes, cuivilum ag déanú an chéad tafaidú agus bhí me cómh nervhíseach. I was so nervous. Agus nó ní rá sé ag dul amach bio. It wasn't going out live. Bhí an chance agam agahorachta a dhéanamh air. I had the chance to edit it. As well as that, like, it's not like I had to put out the first recording. Ní rá sé agsúil go rá an chéad take a chuirmach in I put out the first take. I could have recorded 20 times if I wanted to. Ach fós, thosaigh mé agus bhí me go ag cre. My voice was shaking. I was like, you know, when you're nervous and you're done chéad cúpla óir agus, you know, tar éis beidir leat óir ag déanú iireacht an chéad cúpla nóméid den fud craile dhéanamh after about half an hour of making an effort to try and do the first few minutes of the podcast. Eventually I got an okay recording. I won't bore you with the nerdy stuff ní mé chun ladsrán a chur ort maidir leis na rudaí le dránacha. But geez, my system or my process on chorus of agam no on process or in me vi called donna sin. It was that bad and it was that time consuming to edit the podcast. Now I've nailed it and I've got it down to a fine art. Tá sé agam an ish like an chuí a dhéanam an podcraile. Honestly, after recording this takes 1 take, 2 takes max to record. Togan say take 1, the take beidir on tafaidú a dhéanú. And then after that, it's only 1 or 2 small things on Audacity and it's ready to go. But of course, like anything, like any pursuit, because lein rud sa sail in gno, in Auron, in ein rud maidir leis an alín, if you can call it that, anything related to art, or anything, I don't like calling it art, but creative is stocha, ein rud churtha an chéad cúpla rud a dhéanamh tú. As Mark Twain said, I think the first draft of anything is shit. So an chéad dréacht déan rud tá sé go donna. And he's probably right about that, and that's definitely true for Gaeilge Weekly. Tá sé sin fear maidir le Gaeilge Weekly ach tá my sauce the will say one is fair nish ceapam. And I'll probably look back at episode 100 in a few years. Chance ma go mai me ag féic an sir agus a géisteach sir le episode iwwer ein chéad I gan cúpla blin agus by sé go donna I gcomhpháirtíocht le cúna dé an Ceisteanna, the standard that'll have a bhaid agam I gan cúpla blin. Tá an podcraile fós siúil an sin if the podcast is still going on. Then, so yeah, obviously had a good few guests on towards the end of 2023 as I've started to feel more confident. Just ag labhairt sa Gaeilge for leat óir, because it's one thing speaking by yourself, but then having to interview rud amháin ag labhairt leat féin ach an sin ag déanú aglah agus ag chur duine eile faoi aglah tá sé óhád níos deacra. So, cúpla agus ní rá actually agam an podcraile le níos mó ná bliain and I haven't had a guest on the podcast for more than a year, and I would like to get some guests back on at some point in the future, maybe before the end of the year, beidir rih deireadh na bliana. But at the moment I'm just enjoying chatting about myself and having a bit more control over where the episode goes agus beagannaí níos mó stocha bheith beagannaí níos mó gceannas maidir le céanát a haon gach rud on podcraile. Agus yeah, just enjoying it a lot more. As people listened might have heard about 6-7 months ago, I was going through a bit of a phase of Gaeilge Weekly where I wasn't enjoying it. Daoine a bhí in a géisteacht gach seachtain mar sóiltíomh hartar sé nó seachta mé ó hin bhí méid dul tríd tréimhse nach raibh méid buint an méid céine taitneamh as an seo a dhéanamh agus níor an spragu céine ach na léon the show these days tá méid buint fear taitneamh as an show a dhéanamh. That might change pretty quickly, you know, as beidir go say sin hon afhrú. I've been thinking about the 100 episode and getting to 100 for the last few months. Tá mé taréis a bheith smuoin of faoi agran iwwer ein chéad agus ag sricu agran iwwer ein chéad le trí nó ceirmhí an ús beidir níos mó. So it's been this kind of goal, you know, aim nó spruc a bhí ann I gcónaí an sin sa todhchaí on the horizon, and now that I've got it, maybe things will go back the other way and I'll lose a bit of motivation. Beidir goil mé hon beganín spragu chailú. Because of that, I'm taking a week off next week, actually, where there's going to be no Gaeilge Weekly next week. We'll be back on the 18th by Midrash an Lochtú lá déag. But just to give a bit of a refresh, bit of a chance to take a break after this run to 100, threis an ris so gléibhar ein chéad. But yeah, it's been so nice, and I think even personally, I have percentage just chuna bheith in ann sí síos agus leabhart rudaí, agus leabhart ma héal, agus ma chuid smuointí lán rudaí. Tá lán daoine nach bhfuil, níl an seans acu chun é sin dhéanú agus chun é sin dhéanú os cór chuoin eile to do that in front of other people, and it helps me massively. It's a great way to start the week, to start my Monday off. Chuoíntaach chun túsa chur le mo cheachtain agus leis an lún, just an leabhart faoi cad rinne mé ag an deir seachtainna, nó an ceol is fearr lom, nó leanúint, nó telefís, nó na smuointí na tíramí atá agam, agus leúna dé bíon daoine ag buint níos mó taitneamh mar eile sin, and hopefully people enjoy that more and enjoy the podcast, and I hope you realise that it's all just, I suppose, my thoughts, my opinions, never anything too serious. Even when it is a bit serious, I don't mean it in that serious way. If you tá sé beagnaí dá éire ní le ráin rud den mód fear dá éire, just na smuointí a bhíon insíon an lá sin agus chance, an lá ar gceann, maybe the day after I might change my mind on something or be looking at things in a different way. Beidir go might make vacants or ruddy ishlí your friúil. And one of the coolest things, I guess, is hopefully Gaeilge Weekly will always be there. There'll be a day, I'm sure, at some point in the next, could be in next year, could be in the next 5 years, 10 years, at some point over the next few years. Againn Megan, Againn cúpla bliain, Thomason Gaeilge Weekly. It's not going to go on forever. Like any podcast, it'll go on for a few years, and that'll probably be it at some point. But sinné ag pointe ag, and I'll probably run out of stuff to talk about at some point. So my hun rihamachni by ein rud fácha, hun lartsfu hun lartsfu who ag pointe ag and bush. Hopefully the podcast will always still stay up there, and the episodes will still be available to listen to lacuna day by hagarani igoni or fra fehe trucka quaga blian few for 20, 30, 50 years even lacuna day by she'd fobs la fall agus by shivan on éisteacht low. And it'd be cool for me in the future, and even if I was to have kids in the future or whatever, if you mutá páis the agam sa tauchi no ein rud mar sin, that they can listen back to the podcast and I can listen back and see how bad the audio was, céh done agus to be on audio, but more than that, what I was thinking in January 2024, what was bothering me, or what was, not so much what was bothering me, like cad a bhí a chur steachorm, ach níos mó stocha, where my head was at, or what things were important to me, what I was interested in, the way I was looking at life, what I was prioritising, na rudí a bhí tábhachtach dom, an chuí around me smuoine faoin saoil, go gan ráilta, not around me in my chónaí. So, there's even episodes of when I had just moved to Seville and me talking about Seville, and my viewpoint to Seville is probably so different on Déanta a bhí agam cinse grá sé chud difriúil an sin maidir le Seville agus an Spáin I gcomhpráid leis an Déanta atá agam inis. So, yeah, it's really cool. I'm just so blessed as tá tá orm tá my banithe agus tá mé cho buíoch go háirí an sachtan show when you get to a kind of milestone cluck vila cosúla show. It's so cool, and I just really, really want to say thank you to everyone. To be really, really geary. I know I say this a lot on the podcast. This gomíon me ag leabhart show go minic an bud carla, but really and truly a big, big thank you. I'd love to send out a card to everyone who listen. Bralam cuarta a cheola wi gach dena ag éisteacht. Just thank you so much for being a part of my life. Like gurmína magi as a bheith mar chuid de héal, because you are a big part of my life. Tá listen tosa, yes, ag éisteacht leis an bud carla seo. Tá mar chuid mhór de héal. It's such a privilege to be able to sit down agus just chun leabhart, gach lún, chun leabhart le cúpla míle duine, gach seachtain, agus nuair I am rifust ó dhaoine, nuair I am literacha, when I get emails or letters ó dhaoine ag ra bín méid buint taitneamh as Gaeilge Weekly, nó tá maithim ghfuil méid inán an Gaeilge a hiiscint níos fearr mar gheall an bud creile. Tá sé sin gan dat mar an chuid is fearr agus an chuid is cool, the kind of coolest part and the best part of my job, without doubt, when I get emails or letters. Well, I said letters there. I've never got a letter, physical letter. I would love one. If anyone wants one, I'm not going to give out my address name. I'm my chola or Hortzamak or and so or no. I can first no Choctorkty or Instagram, the new letters, the literature Noah. The literature new Aimshire, the modern day letter, I guess, a DM on Instagram. But now, like, in seriousness, I'm so grateful to my Coco Buick and just thank you for listening every week. Gurmina Magi as éisteacht gach seachtain And yeah, who knows? Hopefully there'll be another 100 episodes. No plans to stop for the time being. Le cúnad é by Céadaoin Granella, ní leon plan agam chun chríoch a chur leis an bud craile agus to make bunch sort of of us. I'm really enjoying it. And lastly, I'd like to say, I'm so grateful. There's a lot of people who would think, say, oh, things were better 10, 20, 30 years ago. Talant daoine exchange sheet if you ruddy níos fearr de fithe truck a blian ó hin. Ag spéidir le ruddy áirithe specific things bhí siad níos fearr. Ach domsa tá mé cóbuíoch chun a bheith markdal to be living in like a leon, so in a generation in a whale to an an. Ma tá smuoinú agat. So if you have an idea, tá tú an an just mic mar hampla le podcréile nó ceol. Mic a cheannach, chance mag my laptop agat hana hain. You probably have a laptop anyway, someone will in the family by duine éigean sa chláán. Nope, tá tú an laptop a cheannach. Agus just tá tú an rud a hain a dhéanamh. There's no barriers, a very little barrier to entry nowadays. Saolaí 10 million ó hin. Duine ag éirí rud éigean cosúla seo, cosúla Gaeilge Weekly a dhéanamh. Imagine 5 or 10 years ago, well, 10 years ago, 20 years ago, someone trying to do something like Gaeilge Weekly. You didn't have a chance. Near a chance of it. You had to get a job with TG Car, Radio na Gaeilge to broadcast as Gaeilge. Bhíart posta all the Radio na Gaeilge the TG Car on broadcasting on Creilú as Gaeilge. Agus nach bhfuil an tá arín chula bheith inis gáhílas fé cuaig agus tá fábanna leis an down. Cinse, there are problems with the world. Ach rodí still sin, má tá tú gurí ceol a churmach, níl record label ag tastal wet. Má tá tú gurí podcréile a churmach, níl distributor ag tastal wet, no níl brand deal mór ag tastal wet. Just tá tú ná a dhéanamh leat féin. Okay, cai tú an promotion a dhéanamh leat féin agus scacar deile. Ach sin leat and spray, that's half of the fun. Freshen, má tá tú gurí gnó a hosú. Okay, níl sé éasca beidir gohfuil beagnaíon agad wet, ach tá sé bhád níos éasca ná trocha carcha blian ó hin don chuid smó do dhaoine, or for most people in most, I suppose, sectors or industries, ní gach tun scálach an chuid smó do na tun scálaí. And I'm just really grateful, again, I can just wake up, if I wanted to roll out of bed, plug the mic into the laptop, record it, bit of editing, up on Spotify, it's there, tá sin. And people can listen to it, I can do the intros I want, the outros I want, tá mé an láirt faoi aon rud. There's no sponsorship. No one's going to say you can say this, you can't say this. Ní leon duna chun rá. Ní freidir leat é seo a rá caithí tú é seo a luaí. You have to mention this. We don't have any sponsors or anything like that. Apart from learnirishonline, of course, ní leon duine ag tuairt óireachta don fudcréile seachas LIO ar nói. Agus mBéarla sin tá an fudcréile an speisialta domsa. So a big thank you. It's because of you guys. Tá mBéarla urbhse go muid an seo ar agran i bhrain chéad. Tásúlam go bhain sibh tainmh as an seo seo. Tásúlam go bhain sibh tainmh as an chéad agran, the first 100 episodes de Gaeilge Weekly. Gur míle mágaí agus le Rome live ní an tachtain sa hugan, so I'll speak to you guys not next week, but the week after. So we will be taking a break next week, back on the 18th on Spotify, 17th on Patreon. An 8ú láideag ar Spotify agus Apple Podcasts, agus an 7ú láideag ar Patreon. Míle buchas slán agus bannacht.
Why must I turn around?